So the first step in our next drawing will be to create a mid-tone ground. So the first step in this process is to take out a sheet of your Strathmore paper and then tape all four sides of the paper down to your board. It's very important that you do this step because if you don't tape it down on all four sides, your paper can lift and rip while you're working. The mid-tone process, there's a lot of erasing. So if it's not taped down, it actually will cause you some problems. It'll be more difficult to work with the charcoal. You're going to need all your charcoals, vine and willow compressed in pencil for this drawing. Although for our ground, we're only going to use the vine or willow charcoal first. You're also going to need all of your erasers, your kneaded eraser, your white vinyl eraser, your chamois cloth, and your blending stumps. And I'll go through each of those in detail in one of the next assignment posts. So make sure we're going to set up what's called a mid-tone ground. Make sure that you are only using your vine or willow charcoal to set up the ground. This is very, very important. If you accidentally use your compressed charcoal, this process will not work. The vine and willow is very easy to erase, so the technique that we're going to use will only work with your vine or willow charcoal. Now remember the vine or willow, it looks a little something, it's like a wiggly stick, right? It's not compressed, so it doesn't look hard. It has that sort of irregular-ish look to it. I'm holding it up there. If you've got multiple options, use a fatter piece, break it in half, and use the edge during this. So you want to use the side of it. You can see I'm using the side to fill. So we're going to fill up our entire sheet of paper and blend it out to a smooth, nice, even gray. The easiest way to do this is to use your whole hand and press and blend as you go. So you're going to blend and smooth it out as you go. You just keep filling with the side of the vine or willow charcoal, and then you keep blending or smoothing it out. As I mentioned before, vine or willow pretty much work the same way. So sometimes it'll say vine, sometimes it'll say willow. They're just two different kinds of wood that actually work in the same way. So as you're going, you're going to work from the middle, blend your way out. It's best to fill in irregular motions as you do this because sometimes there can be like a little hard, scratchy piece of wood. And if you went in a really regular motion, it'll come across as a grid. If there's some scratchiness that you see that happens because of it, it's hidden if you fill with a more irregular pattern. So I'm going to speed up this process here in a second so you can see the whole thing when it's done. But the idea is that you're just filling it, blending it out with your whole hand. If you don't like how dirty it gets your hands, essentially, you could also use a soft white cotton cloth to do this. But just a fair warning, this is going to be a fairly messy process, so you want to wear some old clothes and not be afraid to get a little bit dirty. Charcoal will wash out of your clothes, though. That's kind of the nice thing about charcoal. It comes out fairly easily. All right, so that's the first step in this process.